Awesome. Oh, good day, everybody. Welcome to I'm Daddy with Nathaniel Evans, and also your host, Jeannie Muhammad. We have an amazing guest, Anna. How you say your last name? Klossing?
Yep, Klossing. Like flossing,
Ah,
drop the F, put a K in.
see, yeah, I'm on point today. It must be with the vibe we got today. Our show today is You Are More Than Your Human Soup. So I guess I just came out and just I'm on point for today. So, all right. Yeah. So I focus more on leadership and in the development, dealing with the spirituality of individuals, people as leaderships, and we go into Jeannie, and what Jeannie talks about, and we go from there.
Now, what does Jeannie talk about, Nathaniel? Uh,
Oh, happiness. See, she always smiling. Look, guys, she always smiling and laughing. Her face is radiant, like she was been in the mountains for like 3 years. Right. So we talking about happiness right now, guys.
okay. Thank you, Nathaniel. I am so thankful to be here today. I think I'm just thankful for this day. I'm thankful for Nathaniel. I'm always thankful for him because he is such an amazing person that I work with, and I'm thankful for his attitude and the way that we gel and the way that we're able to work together. So I'm very thankful for that. I am Jeannie Muhammad, your global happiness expert. And I am about finding that joy, peace, and happiness from within. And knowing that we all have that capability and that power, we just have to activate it. And I'm grateful today for our special guest, Ann Klossing. She is an amazing person that when I first met her, we just, the same way with Nathaniel and I, we just clicked. We work on that same vibrational level of love. We are on that frequency of love, and when you operate from that frequency, you have a tendency to bring into your space people that operate on that same frequency. So with that, I want to introduce Anne. She's an author. She's so many. I'm going to let her tell you about her because she is just more than meets the eye. So go ahead, Anne, and introduce yourself. And I just want to give you a hand right here. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you both, Jeannie and Nathaniel. Jeannie, I look to you as a happiness goddess, not just an expert. She just exudes happiness. She glows inside, outside, all around her, and I just honor her for that. And we've visited on our backgrounds, and I know hardships she's been through, and I guess allow us to lead for you to live a life of joy. And it may not always seem like that's the easiest thing to do, but when you can get through those hardships or what we perceive to be hardships, your life will change. So who am I? Today, I am an author. I am a intuitive mentor, and I also channel, and I channel, they refer to themselves as we. And to give you a little bit of background history in that, it's almost like my soul plucked me out of the middle of a cornfield and set me in this chair. and in between the cornfield and this chair, there was a whole lot of struggle. a whole lot of struggle. So my background is I was raised on a farm in northern Illinois. I went to school in southwest Wisconsin and eventually gravitated towards Wisconsin, and that's where I live. And I live on a dairy farm with the love of my life. And he is a dairy farmer, and he farms with his son. And Lynn and I, it'll be 10 years this fall.
Celebration! Great.
So yeah, So I ended up in Wisconsin and I got into conservation. So I worked for the government for over 20 years, in and out of, county, state, federal positions, landed the last 15 years as a soil conservationist. And then life started happening all in between there. And I eventually became depressed, in and out of jobs and in and out of marriages. I've been married twice. And I just want to let you know that your prayers are always heard. So back when I was in college and I was graduating, I remember saying a prayer. I would love to marry a farmer. It was, I wanted to be a farmer. I wanted to get married to a farmer.
So you ain't count
10
you
years.
ain't count a farmer. You ain't count a farmer look. You ain't count a farmer look. Or just any farmer.
So yeah, it came 10 years ago. So I married my first husband. I have a beautiful daughter out of that relationship. And then we parted ways and I remarried again. And I always call that marriage the perfect storm. And it was lessons that I definitely needed to learn, and found myself in another clinical depression. So I have so many branches of stories that I can tell. So you just narrow me down, Jeannie. What else?
I'm enjoying this, and I'm really enjoying you just going and flowing, because I know that your spirit will lead you to where you need to be in order to enhance the lives of our audience,
Sure.
because we're all about, being of service to others, to elevate and to raise their frequency. So I know with knowing you, your spirit will lead you where you should go.
And it just did. So I was talking about we. So all through that, I never knew I could channel. I had experiences, but you just kind of stuff them down as kind of, no, that really didn't happen. It's all in your head, Ann. And after my second divorce, and this was the second time that I'd been into a major clinical depression. So I think I've always battled it up until now. In my high school years, that ebb and that flow of in and out of depression. And that's what you do, is you cycle. But with a truly, if you're really getting into it, those good times, your healthy times become narrower and narrower, and that gap becomes shorter and shorter, and the longer you stay in those depressed modes. So I call them two wing dingers. Major clinical depression is what the physician, what they point the finger at. And that second one really rattled me, because I knew what it was like to be on antidepressants the first time. And I was on 3 different antidepressants. Nothing felt good. I felt awful on them. And the second time around, I had thoughts of suicide. And I had them before when I was on it, but they were so much stronger. So much stronger. So I call it the come to Jesus moment was I had gotten into an argument with my second husband at the time. And he was doing the best that he could with what he knew how. His frustration level, if I wasn't doing or acting or whatever the way he expected me to act, then the pointing finger would come out. And it was just one of those arguments where I just couldn't take it anymore. So I ran out of the house, and my property is kind of long and narrow. It's on the Mississippi River. And the north part, it's in 2 parcels. The north part of it was a garden. I loved to garden. And the rest of it was a old conservation reserve program field. We just let it go to grass. And as I was sitting at the edge of the garden, I sat down, cross-legged, head on my hands, and I was literally thinking about, shooting myself, taking my car off a cliff, running it into the cliff wall up in Boscobel. I've got all kinds of options. And it was at that moment that I looked up, and I could, through teary eyes, I could see this alpha male coyote in front of me. And he wasn't 20 yards away. He was 20 feet away. So he was close. And kind of out of my tear-stained eyes, I kind of shake myself out of that. I can see the other ones coming in from the wood line, coming in. It was like there was at least 5, 6, maybe more coming in. And it was like, what do I do? And it was at that moment I heard that inner voice. And it was just a subtle voice that said, are you sure you want this? And I sat there. It's like, I can make it happen. I didn't want to shoot myself. I didn't want to take my car off into the Mississippi River, and I didn't want to hit the bluff wall. But hey, here's a pack of coyotes that are just more than willing. And coyotes are timid, but this alpha male was not. So I sat there and I'm like, no. And then I could hear it. It was like bark. It was very sharp. It was very loud. And it was male bark. So mind you, I've been crying. And I try to bark and it kind of comes out and gets caught. And it's kind of like this barkle.
Okay.
It's like, and I'm like, nothing's happening. So I stand up and I bark. This dog takes another step towards me. And I'm like, okay, now what? And the voice said, growl. So I'm in my early 40s. I'm standing at the edge. I got tears all over me. I can hardly see because I'm just bawling and trying to bark. And finally, I started growling. And I ran at the dumb thing. And
you ran after them?
I ran after them. So picture me about 42-ish going. I mean,
wow.
No, because I mean, through the veil, it had to be hysterical. It had to have been. Here's this crazed woman running after a pack of coyotes. And they all receded. And I stopped. And my heart was just racing and pounding. And it's like, something has to change. And it was at that moment in time, it was like all these events of my life flashed in front of me. And it was, you're behind every event. You're the common denominator to every event.
Oh, Ann, that's awesome when you come to the real, because that's what happened to me.
It's like you come to this and it's like, okay, I have to change. And I went back to the house. I told my second husband what had happened. And then it was like he got concerned. And I'm like, no, I'm going to bed. And I did. I went back to bed and I just bawled. I bawled and bawled and bawled. And I got up the next morning and I started making phone calls. It's like, okay, medication is not working. So I'd heard about acupuncture for depression. And I knew of a guy like 30 minutes away from me. I tried calling him and I could never get through. So at this point in time, it was about 2 years after my dad had passed. And my second husband, like I said, was doing the best that he could with what he had, the knowledge that he had. It was almost like it was divide and conquer. So borderline narcissist,
Mm-hmm.
And it was divide and conquer. I wasn't speaking to my family. I was talking to mom in limited terms. My dad had passed 2 years before, and we were on limited speaking terms. And like, hadn't talked to my sister and how I just pushed him away. It's like my pain is my pain, and everybody's out to get me. That's what happens when you get into that deluded thought. It's like,
yes,
your egocentric mind takes over and you become delusional.
Yes.
And there's no right or wrong to it. And I became passionate at that moment. And what I became passionate about was feeling good. And in my place, it was feeling better. Anything had to feel better than where I was at. Anything. Right. And I tried getting a hold of this one acupuncturist, could not get through. It was like, no matter what I did, the phone would die. And I called my mom and I'm like, can I have the number to your acupuncturist? And my mom is just like, she's going crazy on the other end. She was so happy that I reached out. We started patching things up. I started going to acupuncture, and within less than a month, probably about 4 weeks, I was at my uncle's funeral, and I'm sitting at his funeral. And did you ever see the Enzyte commercial? Bob the Enzyte guy.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes.
Yes, the drug for erectile dysfunction. This guy had
Yes.
the most ridiculous looking smile on his face. That was me at my uncle's funeral. I had this Cheshire cat smile on my face, and it's like I adored my uncle. It was like I couldn't. It was this false sense of happiness. So, and I couldn't grieve. I couldn't even cry. It was just like, this is ridiculous. What is going on? So I had my next acupuncture appointment, and I said to Joel, I said, what is going on with me? I should have been grieving, but I said, I was just like, I'm on this happy high. He goes, oh, it's time to get you off your medication. So I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I called my doctor, and she's like, if this is working, great. She goes, you know how to do this. So I just backed off my meds, and I keep that bottle in my cupboard as a reminder.
So my thing is, and this is amazing story transition, and that's, I think that's one of the things that we as people forget, that we have to go through these weird periods in our lives in order to reach different levels, in order to see new heights, to see with different eyes, right? And this is a gift that we are forgetting about, that actually resonates within us, that's actually meant to be a part of the world, to learn more, to explore more. And we can't do it without each other. We're not able to connect with each other and see the gifts of each other and explore one another's gifts. Then these things, we're missing valuable lessons, because a lot of things that we're known for in the land really has nothing to do with who we really are as people.
Correct.
Or actually how we identify ourselves as people. Like, people identify you by clothes and all different type of level of possessions, or even professions and stuff like that you actually partake on, but they're really not a part of you. So it's like, when you speak about, you're talking about the funeral, and you're speaking about for a sense of delusion, right? The energy that came to me is like, it's not really a force of delusion. It's actually a space of acceptance and also gratitude for life. Like,
Yeah.
Jeannie uses word all the time, but we don't have gratitude for life. We think gratitude for life stops and end here when we're alive, right? And it's a selfish thing that we do when it comes to life. Like, we don't project life the same way we project values, the same way we project gifts, or the same way we project desires. We don't project life in that same way. We don't see it transitioning, right? We don't see a new era to live in life. Because some people, and it's maybe, it's a hard pill to swallow, but some people in this world don't begin to live life until other people move out of their lives. Maybe people experience deaths and things of that nature, and then people are able to start moving forward, because life takes on a new set of lenses when we go through changes.
Yes. And I think sometimes, we start off, with our parents, and some people have very loving parents and some people don't. Right away, we start to put things and ideas in a box. Well, if this happens to me, then this is how I feel, and it goes in that box. And we get all these boxes, and what we don't understand is that these boxes, basically, it's like taking you and putting yourself in that box. We're expansive. We're here to grow. We're here to share, and we are here to feel the full spectrum of emotion, whether it's joy and freedom or powerlessness and despair. It's learning how to navigate from joy to despair and be a master of that. And that's what I became passionate about. So once I started feeling better, my chiropractor, he suggested I start with Louise Hay in a book. I have it right here. It's called Heal Your Body. This was one of the first books that I bought on how we store emotion in the body. So whatever ailment you have or what area the body hurts, you simply go to it. She tells you what the cause of it is and gives you an affirmation for it. That was step one for me. And then my chiropractor or my acupuncturist, he opens it up even wider, and I become exposed to Abraham Hicks. And also my chiropractor suggested Abraham Hicks. Between the two of them, it was like I was destined to study Abraham Hicks. And that just changed my life. Wayne Dyer was another one. So I was self-taught. And I didn't start channeling until I was 50, and I'm 56. And really, it was automatic writing, and it was me healing and writing letters to God. And then all of a sudden I could, it was like Archangel Michael would come in. Archangel Raphael would come in. Archangel Jophiel would come in. And it's like, this is interesting. And I would just start asking questions. And one of the first questions I had was, what's wrong with me? Common question that usually we all ask ourselves at some point in time. What is wrong with me? If you're not getting the promotion at work, what goes through your head? What's wrong with me? What did I do? What am I not doing right? I mean, not everyone does that, but I would say the Mary Morrissey refers to it as common hour thinking. It's the common hour type of thinking we do. Instead of saying, what can I learn in this opportunity? I didn't get the job because, what's my opportunity? Well, to me now, today means, oh, there's something better in store. Because I went through that. Apply for a job, wouldn't get it. Now I thought I was stuck in this last job that I had. No, my soul was just saying, you're not ready. This is not your path.
And isn't that interesting how that worked? Because I was thinking about you trying to get in touch with that first acupuncturist and not being able to contact them.
Magical.
Right. You were not meant to contact them. I mean,
right.
That was not the one that you were meant. That was why it led you to your mother. It's so interesting how things like that happen. And when it doesn't happen the way we think it should, we don't understand what a blessing it can be.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you're looking at thought is basically like it's like a human construct we use a lot of times to be able to identify things. It's not really to produce. It's not really to give us real clarity on what's really happening in the world, because our thoughts change in microseconds. The title is you are more than your earth suit, right? So it's actually showing that in order to identify with this concept, you have to move on a higher vibration. You have to allow yourself to move on a higher vibration and tap into different vibrations. And as Ann said from the beginning, tapping in is scary, right? Going that extra mile is overwhelming. It's like, no, okay, listen, let me stop now before I lose everything that I actually structured in the world. You know what I mean? All the relationships and all the materialistic things that I have come to identify with, or even the constructs of my profession, how people identify with me. I've created all these different things now, right? And they basically have like this tangible touch to them that when I tap in, I know for surety that I'm gonna lose majority of those things. It tells you as you're tapping in that many things that you once held dear to you, many things that you once identified with, no longer has that I had a professor that said this, and I never forget it, my first semester in college when I was doing my associates. And she said, the desire of a thing is the power of it. And she was just showing that because you desire something, this is the power of that thing. That thing did not just become a desire because you saw it. It becomes desire because this is what you projected it to be. You actually have put it on this plateau, right? And you have took the time to polish it up and clean it up and moving it around and, holding around with you in order for it to be a part of your identifier in the world.
Yes. Beautiful segue. So the book, I have one book out. It was a co-authored book. And these are the power of your thoughts and the power of your intentions. And back in 2020, I took a course with Jack Canfield called Reignite Your Life. And that course brought out my purpose. That was when I finally discovered my purpose. And that's when I began actually channeling for others. And it was a challenge that one of my accountability partners put me up to. And that's where I took my automatic writing to the next level. And that was doing it for someone else. And I was like, dang. Didn't know I could do that.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
Meanwhile, I've been writing this book. I was encouraged to write this book. And the other thing that came in back in, I think, 2018, I have it hanging on my wall. It's the love of my life. He is a volunteer fire chief, and he's a farmer, and he's also a first responder, but he's very active. And once a year in the fall, they have this tri-state fire and EMS convention down in Dubuque, Iowa on the Mississippi River. And it was one of the years we finally got a room on the river. And he always got up early in the morning. He goes off, and I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. I'm all ready to go. And I was just sitting there. It was cold October morning. And I was just sitting there watching the waves. And it was windy that day. So there was actually crests on the water. And I'm sitting there. And all of a sudden, I hear this voice. And I was starstruck. It was Louise Hay.
Wow.
Absolutely starstruck. And before I realized what had happened, I got up, grabbed my notebook quick. But her message was, and the thought that came in when I heard her voice was, she had just passed, like that August, and this was October. And I said, boy, I was going to this Hay House Writers Workshop in November. It was less than a month away. I was like, boy, it really would have been awesome to meet her. And it's like, I'm 50, whatever I was at the time. It's like, how am I going to do this? I'm 50. I'm doing the age thing. And then all of a sudden I hear this voice that says, you are younger than me, my dear. Being very, very straightforward. And I was like, I'm like, Louise, Lulu. I didn't know what to call her. She's like, call me Lulu. Everyone calls me Lulu, dear. And she said, like the waves on the river, there will be a wave of writers. We need you to write. And that was it. And she was gone. And I got chills all over me. And I'm sitting here trying to write my notes, and I'm scrambling. And it's like, all right, I'm writing a book. So at my Canfield conference in 2020, my intention, and this is the power of thought, my intention was, I will have my book completed by noon, July 1st, 2021. I didn't state what book. First book that came out was Women Who Shine.
And did it come out by that date?
It came out a month later.
Wow.
So relatively, within that time frame. So yeah, that was my first publication, and that was with Kate Butler Books. She's absolutely awesome. She's one of my mentors. And Jack always encourages people. If there's someone that you want, that you admire and you want to aspire, not to be them, but to be in their energy, you want to know what they do, how are they living their life, you get in their world, you get in their corner of the world. So I took a mastermind with Jack, and I'm so thankful I did. Prior to that, I said yes to Mary Morrissey and did a year of study under Mary Morrissey with the Brave Thinking Master's Group. I could have not written this book that is in edit right now. And the name of that book is Finding God. The original subtitle was Overcoming Abuse, Depression, and Fear. And out of that mastermind, Jack's partner, Patty Aubrey, suggested that I change the name. So when I got back from Nashville, I sat in quiet and it came through. So the new subtitle is the interrelationship between thought, universal law, soul agreements, and the human experience. So there is a lot packed into this book, and it's like 3 sections. So the first section is my memoir. It tells my story, and from basically birth till now. And the second is teaching universal law, the 3 key laws that I think are so important for people to learn. And that is the law of vibration, the law of free will, and the law of attraction. Because if you can say affirmations all day long, but if you are not in the vibration of that affirmation, game over. You'll be one of those people that say, well, the law of attraction doesn't work. Well, not with that attitude. Not with that attitude. So, and then the back portion of the book is kind of the guidebook. You know, I get into meditations in bringing the 5 senses back into the body so that you can differentiate and get out of your head and into your body and into your heart space. That's where you connect with your soul. So I pushed my soul away. I checked my soul out every morning I got up. Not talking to you, not dealing with you. I don't know who I was. I do now. I know that I am more than my human earth suit.
Okay, Ann, I want the burning question that I had was when you were talking about just knowing you is knowing God. What was the
Finding you is finding God.
Okay, finding you is finding God. When you were using that title, exactly, you know, and I know it's a deep subject, but if you had to explain it to someone that just said, okay, Ann, what are you talking about?
When I sat there with the title, that I was just doodling at my desk, and I had finding you, finding God. And then I had these arrows, one pointing down to God, one pointing back up to the other side. And then this was the second time that I heard the voice extremely loud and extremely serious. And it was like, oh, okay, that's the title. It was finding you is. That's all I heard was is. It was very loud, very loving, but it was like, that's the title. Finding you, you will find God. Mm-hmm. And if you find God, typically you find you. You know, I look at religion as separate than spirituality. Spirituality is a different topic. In religion, look at how many there are, and everyone has their opinions about them. And spirituality to me is individual, and it is what you commune with to lead your life, regardless of the religion. Because if you look at all religions, they all have the basic principles. There is one creator. So my definition of God, and I've already had people locally that give me kind of I call it the hairy eyeball.
I have a question about that too, but go ahead.
People who are very devoted to their religion will pick up my book and probably go, she's wrong. And I'll say, okay, I'm not for you. I'm not for you. I look at God. So when I tap into and I channel, we consists of a whole pile of ascended masters. Many of them, I don't know their name. I just know there's a lot. And the archangels and the billion of angels that are behind them, you know, that they oversee. It's this collective that I channel. And they are so enthusiastic about you knowing vibration, your free will, and law of attraction, and coming from a place of love. In the information, when I work with someone one-on-one, it's information that's coming from your soul. Your soul will never give you anything that you cannot handle. It's what you're ready for. What layer are you ready to peel off today? And then the next day you can go into okay, what layer are you ready to peel off?
Audio calling. Nathaniel, mute yourself and see if it's coming from you. Yeah, it was coming from you. Okay. I'm sorry, Ann. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's you peel off one layer at a time, and for me, everyone is always transforming. You don't look like you were when you were born. And when you transition, you're not going to look like you are today. You're always
Right.
transforming. The other thing you're always doing is creating. You're creating every day. You're either doing it deliberately and with intention, or you're doing it by default. Whatever's
Right.
going through your mind, all these thoughts, that's what you're creating. I created the coyotes to come to me. I created that. That's
Right.
that energy that pulls in and says, okay, you want to kill yourself? All right, we can make that happen. You don't want to do it
Right.
this way, this way, this way. Well, we'll send her
The
a pack.
noise. Oh, I'm sorry. It's there again. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ann.
But it's simply the law of attraction. So I'm not going to say people or we, what I did not understand was that my thoughts create things. And that
And that is true. That is so true. Because I just want to say this, and I'm going to let you continue. Um, I realize about my thoughts. Sometimes when thoughts will come to me, I'll say, no, that doesn't have to be the way it is. I can bring that in, or I can reject it. If it's something that I want to have in my life, I can embrace it. But if it's not, I can say no. That's not, I'm not going to bring that into my life.
yes, and that's the importance of the law of free will. The law of free will. So we are creators, either deliberately with an intention or by default. We just think. We just think in whatever mood we're in, that vibration we're in. There's feelings, there's thoughts, and there's emotions. So our body is always bringing in information. I'm hot. I'm cold. Ooh, Johnny said that. That ticks me off. Okay, now we're angry. So the staircase that we're talking about, which is, if you go to Abraham Hicks, Ask and It Is Given, the emotional scale is in that book. That was the fundamental of my recovery, of really understanding, oh, I do create my reality by how I'm thinking. So I was addicted to fear, and I had this old thought pattern, but it wasn't my fault. I didn't know any better. No one sat me down at 5 and said, do you realize that you can do this? That you can, they're just words. That if Johnny says, I don't like your dress, you don't have to believe it. Nobody told me that.
Yes.
No one.
Yes.
There's power in that. Look at how independent our children will be when we can say, well, it's so big deal. That's Johnny's opinion. He can have that.
That's right.
It's that independent decision. And decisions are important. So you have this law of free will that says you can be, do, or have anything in this life. Anything.
That's right. See, that's what I'm saying about happiness. If that's what you desire, you have the capacity to be that, bring that in.
Yes.
If it and it's in you. You have that. When you say, I am not happy, well, why aren't you happy? What is it that you have decided that?
Yes. I still have pity parties for myself.
Oh,
I
I
just
do
don't
too.
stay there for a long time.
The happiness coach has pity parties.
It's like, okay, it's now I time it. It's like 15 minutes. Get over it.
Yes. How long am I going to wallow in this? Okay,
Yeah.
I've been wallowing in this for it's long enough. Now I know what I need to do to bring myself up from this.
Yes. So like right now, I have a financial paradigm that I turned into, Job and the sea monster. That biblical story, my finances are the sea monster. And I'm sitting here, Job, like, come on, God, can't you do something? Can't you do this? Can't you do that? Can't you? So I've got this paradigm over my finances. And when that egocentric mind, that thought comes up, what I've been doing as of lately is just saying, oh, thank you very much for that. We'll talk about that Thursday at 5:00 p.m. I'll see you on the bench. I have a bench out in my flower garden. So every time it comes, I will say, thank you very much. I will see you at 5:00 Thursday on the bench.
Here's the noise again.
Then the other thing I will do is, or I will see you on the bridge right now. And then I bring the angels in. And their new term that they provided for me just within the last month was afraid. And it's capital A, capital F, capital R, aid, AID.
Mm-hmm.
And it stands for angel, friend, rendering aid.
Oh,
So you call on your angels and you say, please take this thought and discard it and transform it. And then whatever thought you were in, repurpose it into something positive.
right.
Let them take it, give it to them. And if you can't muster up the repurpose affirmation, that's okay. Just give it to them. Get it gone and think about something else.
Right.
So afraid.
And I wanted to ask, because I know that with the level that you're coming from, that there are a lot of people that will look at you with that side eye you were talking about earlier.
Stink eye, that one.
And go like, oh, here comes that Ann.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people that didn't like Jesus either. So, I can always lean on him. What do you do?
And that is so true. That is so true. So because you handle it with such grace and dignity, because I know, and I'm not as developed as you are, but some of the things that the universe has revealed to me puts me on a kind of different level than a lot of the people that are in my world. And I know how sometimes I'm looked at, but like you, I have just learned to accept that this is what I have been given.
It's a muscle that you work. So it's no different than getting up and doing, 30 push-ups. You practice. And it's looking through the lens of compassion and looking at them beyond this earth suit that they're wearing. And you see that sparkle in their eye, and you have this mental conversation with your soul, and you say, oh, okay, I see that you're doing the best that you can. And it's okay that you don't understand me. Doesn't mean you have to hang around the person, but it's that, okay, I understand you. That's a muscle. And I still get challenged. I mean, people still trigger me. I mean, I'm human. There's just sometimes things make me mad. But it's how long are you going to stay there? So how long do you want to be angry at this person because they did this, or this? But then when you step back and you look at it, and you look at it from a soul perspective, it really softens things. And the example that I'll give you is, I was sexually abused by my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, at a very, very young age. It was fondling. It could have been so much worse. But you begin to respond to life differently when that happens to you, especially when all of a sudden you're at a certain age and you understand that was like of a sexual nature, and you're like, man, that was my grandfather. And then your mind runs, and your mind tells you all these ridiculous stories. So as I was awakening, if you want to call it that, some people call it the dark night of the soul. It wasn't pretty for me. It was very uncomfortable, but that was the skill that I had. That was where I was at. I wasn't comfortable. I was angry. I was depressed. I would bounce from probably anger to blame to depression, stay at depression for a while, dig myself way out of that, be at the angry level, fall back down again. You're ebbing and flowing, and you're learning with your experiences. But I went to a medium who was recommended from my acupuncturist, and it took me a year to get the courage because it had been, by the time I saw her, it had been 2 years after my dad died. And I had it in my head that he was mad at me. I just had it in my head that he was mad at me. And it was far from the truth. So what was funny, what came through that visit with her was the angels. And it was those 3 key angels, Archangel Michael, Raphael, and Jophiel. Michael, the big protector, Raphael, the healer, and Jophiel, this woman needs light. Shut it on her now. I needed so much light because my thought process was so dark, so dark. But the second time I went to see her, my grandfather that abused me came out. And I'm just like, I said, Kelly, I don't want to talk to him. She says, I want you to think of it this way. They want me to tell you a story. And she told me about her story. And she didn't get into deep depths with it, but it was like a friend of hers where they'd gotten into business together. And this friend like totally backstabbed her. And I think there was some money involved, and it was just very, very hard feelings. Mm-hmm. And through her course in healing, what she discovered was, she says, think of it this way, that she goes, me and my friend are besties in heaven, over the veil, in the universe. They're besties. And they had this plan, and they said, well, if I do this to you, this will cause you to do this, and you'll be so far over here. It's going to quantum leap you over here. Mm-hmm. And as soul partners, you say, yeah, I'm in for that. Boom, down you go. So my soul agreement with my grandfather was that he would do that, because that was going to cause me to do certain things along the path. And it was just another example of where I needed to stand up, use my voice, and stand up for myself. And when you put yourself in the eyes of the perpetrator, and you're standing here soul to soul, and this one says, yeah, I'll do the dirty rotten. You don't have to. You can be the victim. It's like, what role would you rather be in? Victimhood is so easy to stay in. But when you're the perpetrator, I was just like, oh my God, I don't know if I could have done that.
Okay.
It flipped it. I mean, it really turned the table on that. And I'm like, I was still mad. I was still mad when I walked away from that session, but it really got me thinking. And the more I wrote it out, the more I began to understand it, the more I began to communicate with him on why he did it.
And you know, that is
myself.
That is so interesting, because on another level, as far as the people that abused me in my life, when I truly started to heal was when I really forgave them by saying, okay, yeah, they did this, but what was it about them? What had happened in their lives?
Exactly.
What was it? You know, and I started to feel compassion actually for them, because I realized for them to have done the horrendous things that they did to me, there had to be something that went on in their lives. And I was able to see actually how it was a blessing for me. I didn't see it the way you were just making the connection, but all that happened and all that they did to me helped me to become who I am.
The best way I can explain it is everyone has a soul agreement that you're going to come to earth and you're going to wear this earth suit, and these are the things that your soul needs in order for your soul to expand. So there's times where that soul has chosen to be the bad guy for expansion, for that knowledge, and it's the greater good. You know, if you think about wars, there's not just one person involved, there's many. You know, and that soul looked at the bigger picture And each time there's a war, there's generally advancement in love. Generally. There's a whole lot of cleanup, but there's generally advancement. I mean, how many wars do we have right now? I mean, there's always wars going on, but if you think about it, in the big picture, there's one going on over here, but not globally like we had World War II. I mean, we've come close, but then it's like, then love comes out and it expands it even farther. So when you can bring it back down to yourself, and they will tell you, the infinite will tell you, quit watching the news. Part of the law of free will is also not to be, do, or have, but it's also, don't go sticking your nose in someone else's business. It's not your right to think for someone. It is not your right to feel for someone, and it is not your right to do for them. That is up to them. And if you would look at it as a triangle, and the book is Byron Katie, Love What Is. Byron Katie, Love What Is. And basically she advises, you don't stick your nose in someone else's business, and you don't climb up the ladder and stick your nose in God's business. If you stick to your own business, your life will be a whole lot easier. And that's what she found, because she kept putting expectations on people. And I look at what I did to my first husband. I expected him to act in a certain way. I wanted him to do a certain thing. I wanted him to be a certain way. I wasn't going to be happy. That wasn't going to make me happy. It was going to drive me nuts. And it did. You know, and I look at our relationship and how we were able to set all that crap aside and still walk our daughter down the aisle. He still comes to family gatherings.
I saw those pictures. Those were wonderful
Yes.
pictures.
Yeah. I mean, he still comes.
I have one more. We're almost out of time. Nathaniel, I know Ann and I have dominated this conversation. And
it's awesome. It's no problem. It's no problem.
And
it's all good.
And but I have one more question. When you have a connector with your creator, as you said, whatever you might call him, God, Allah, Yahweh, the universe, whatever name label you put on the creator, because there's only one creator. How do you connect that to you're honoring just your creator, but you also have your angels over here?
Think of it as, this is how I see it. Like in my third eye is where I've taken, I call it a journey meditation. You can call it a visualization meditation, whatever, where the angels in my mind will take me. And I have an eagle. He's a very big eagle. His name is Abner. And I climb on Abner's back and we go flying. And I never know where they're taking me. And I haven't done this this was a lot when I was going through some major healing and really trying to understand that I create my reality. And as we flew up, we kept going up and up and up and up. And I'm like, oh, I know where we're going. Oh, I know where we're going. And it's like, don't be afraid. And if you could just think of it, it's just like this big energy bubble that just surrounds everything. And that's God to me. It's not feminine. It's not masculine. It's, when I hear it, I think it's probably because of my religious upbringing. It is more male, in that when you look at like shaman, or you look at any of like tribal, they look at father in the sky and mother as earth down below, that nurturer, creator, life, and the father from the heavens. And it's this huge, massive bubble and a huge, massive voice, you know, and part of my paradigm was deserving. And when you have God ask you, why do you feel that you do not deserve to be in front of me? Why do you feel that way? And I bawled, I wept, and I wept, and I wept, and I wept. So you have the ascended masters who once walked the earth. they are masters for a reason, because they live unconditional love. And if you are lucky enough to experience a person in the life who walks the walk and talks the talk, it's catchy. It's really catchy. These are your leaders out there. So, and when I say leaders, I look to it as the Mary Morrisseys of the world, of the Jack Canfields. There's channelers out there that I love to watch, and I love to hear their stories, because it's like, oh my, I felt the same way. Because it's like you when you start hearing it, sometimes I hear the voices, but it's more of like thought. So when I do my Facebook lives every Friday, it's like this funnel of thought that comes down, and then I have to filter through it. So it's very familiar to me, because it's my interpretation of it. You will notice a slight change in my voice. It gets a little, I get an accent sometimes. I get kind of a brogue, and I don't know where that comes from. It's really slight. It's really slight.
Wow,
So
wow,
must be an Irishman over there coming through, Saint whoever it is.
And thank you so much. I hate to have, end this, because there's so much what you have to offer, and it makes you think. It makes you think. It makes you dig deep, and it makes you know you are more than your human earth suit. Tell us
Yeah.
and your info, how to get in contact with you, and your mentorship program, how we can learn more about it.
Sure. And just a spinoff, just quickly, you have the umbrella, which is God. And then God, the creator, thinks so highly of you as the human that he had a spinoff called your soul. And that soul resides in you. And when you get in touch with that soul inside you, you are in touch with the creator. Some people would give me that old snake eye again, the old stink eye, whatever you want to call it. But you have that in you, and you are so much more than you can realize. And when you can get in touch with that, all of your problems seem insignificant. You're like, that was funny. It was funny I thought that. So how to get in touch with me, you can go to my website. It's just my name. It's annklossing.com. And I believe there's a link for my email in there. My email is ann@annklossing.com. My Facebook page, my profile page. And then if you look at my profile page, it's my name, Ann Klossing, common theme here. And on my Facebook profile picture, I have my Facebook group. So you can tap on that, or you can direct message me if you're interested in that. And my transformation, I have a transformation mentorship. So it's WE+1. So when I tap into source, it's that we collective energy and your soul. So you're getting it directly from your soul on the items and areas in your life that you need to work on. And I have WE+1, which is a 2-week mentorship. And then I have WE+1 Life Transformation. And that was a guided program. And it is an 8-week program where we take 2 weeks at a time. And first we look at your well-being, your health and well-being quad. We then move into your vocation quad. Then we move into time and money freedom. How much money do you want to make? How much time do you want to have on your hands? What do you want to do for philanthropic efforts? All that good stuff. And then the last one is relationships. So, direct message me or email me, and you can simply put in there WE+1. Would like to talk more, and I can send you a calendar link for 15 minutes.
Thank you so much, Ann, for this beautiful, beautiful hour that you have given to us. Nathaniel, did you have anything that you want to say before we depart?
No, it's awesome. Great conversation. Definitely amazing meeting you, Ann. And I actually look into working with you on this journey.
Awesome.
It's this workshop you're talking about. It resonates with me. I was really quiet. I really don't be that quiet during the podcast, but this was really it's something that you said that I do agree with because I've actually studied this even from my studies in the Bible and through my path. Is that we are assigned a spiritual assignment before we're placed down on this plane. And a lot of times we get distracted with the physical assignments that actually take place and it actually transition, us out of who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do in the world. And I think that's really important to know that we do have a spiritual assignment. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with the things a lot of times that we're doing on a physiological level, whether it may be our relationships, our belief systems, the things that we have involved ourselves in. We are great in these experiences, and most of these experiences are human experiences.
Exactly. And purpose is going to be different for everyone. It doesn't have to be grand. Purpose could simply be here just to be yourself and your shining light, and everyone you come in contact with, you raise their energy level. It could be maybe you're the best doggone mom that ever walked the earth. It's correct. It doesn't have to be, channeling. It's like I said, I felt like my soul just took me out of the cornfield and went, here you go. And I went, really?
You don't gotta find yourself on TV and all that type of stuff like that. So it's like
it's like, really?
You don't have different paths. That's the fact.
The thing is I just go, okay, I'll do it.
That's the same. So many times I'd be like, this is what I'm really supposed to be doing? And they say, yeah, this is what you're supposed to be doing. I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll carry on.
I usually roll my eyes too. It's like, all right.
Whatever. I feel like Jonas in the well. So I get it.
Thank you again, Ann. And to our audience, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am the data. And so that we can continue to bring you more amazing people such as Ann. So thank you again. I usually end with a meditation, but for some reason my spirit is saying that,
no.
Yes, that the
whole meditative state,
this whole hour has been a meditation.
It would be overkill, Jeannie.
Thank you again.
You can do the space one. It's like put your hands on your head and you just feel your face. You could try that. Just space. Get in touch with yourself.
And then let go.
Thank you. Thank
you for this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you for inviting me into your space. So this was fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. This was a great thing. Amazing.
And I will be getting in touch with you later this weekend.
Perfect.
Love you. Love you.
All right. Love you too. Bye.
Blessings. Nice to meet you.
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings, everyone.